mindset. And first of all, just want to welcome you, and you're right where you need to be. So, like to create welcoming spaces for people, because in my mind, it's all about belonging, and yeah, everybody has a voice, and it matters. So, two of you know me, the rest of you don't. My name's Angela Thomas, and my day job, actually I'll go through this. I'll give you a little bit of brief intro so you know who's in front of you today. For work, I do have a day job, like a lot of people. Can you hear me? Okay. Turn it on. A day job where I don't have to use a microphone every day. So I work at Power Engineers. I'm the Director of Corporate Innovation. And then I do have a side project, FIG, Organic Ideation. And it's taking the strategic facilitation on one side, so think of the mind, and then also the holistic side of things, think of the body. So yoga, Ayurveda, that's a lot of what I do on the holistic side, because in my mind, you need holistic to feed the mind. A happy place. So I think we should all have a happy place, something for us all to go to, if not in our minds, then physically. And this is my happy place. I do mindfulness running retreats with other women, only women, because I'm around men all the time. And this is in the Dolomites. And so it was a wonderful place. If you ever get a chance to go to the Dolomites, I would highly recommend it. Wonderful people, wonderful land, wonderful food. Speaking of food, favorite food. I do like food. It may not look like it, but anything local, I love and enjoy. But top of my list is sushi, even though that's not really local. But sushi, any place you can get it, is really top of my list. And then currently reading. Does anybody here a reader? Like books? That's cool. Okay. Somebody's like, why are you asking me this? Well, because I'm curious. So currently reading, I used to read a lot fiction, but now I'm really into nonfiction. So a lot of Thich Nhat Hanh in terms of mindfulness, and of course, a lot of yoga books, and currently learning about yin yoga and yoga nidra. So if you like to think of things of your body influencing your mind, yoga nidra is really amazing. Okay, so that's a little about me. Usually in workshops, I like to go around and have everybody introduce themselves, but we don't have enough time for that. And plus, I didn't want to freak people out because sometimes that can cause anxiety. So we're not going to do that today. So what we're going to do, we are a little bit behind schedule, but I do want to get you through this journey so you get some food. But we are going to start with you on the inside. So thinking of you and your body, and then we're going to move to more of the mind and learn a couple of different things that we use for innovative techniques. And then we're going to get some practice. So that's the do. And we will probably need to scoot a little bit closer to make the activity a little bit easier. Don't worry, you don't need to talk to each other. It's up to you if you even want to look at each other, but we will need to sit a little bit closer. I do call it an introvert-friendly activity. And then we're going to do a wrap-up at the end. So does that sound okay to everybody? Okay, good, because that's what we're doing. All right, so at the end of this workshop today, this is what I really want you to walk away with. First of all, be comfortable being uncomfortable. When you're sharing your ideas and getting people excited about them, you're excited, but it can be uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the more you work that muscle, the easier it gets. Trust yourself. All you need is already in you. A lot of times people think they need to get certifications, they need to read the book, they need to do the thing. But you just need to trust yourself and your intuition, because you're already amazing. You just may not know it yet. And then last but not least, do brave things, not perfect things. I don't know, are there any perfectionists in the room? Okay. Well, it's not healthy. And that's okay. You be you. But I do want to say there's something about being brave and taking that chance and moving forward versus waiting until something's perfect before doing it. So just want to put that out there for you all. Okay, so we're going to start with you. And I always like this little girl. Look at those guns. I mean, I would like to hang out with her, right? In a dark alley or something. So what is something you have with you all the time? Yeah, the answer's right there. I was one time somebody said my phone. I was like, but the answer's right there. It's true. You may have your phone with you all times, but yes, your breath is with you all the time. You're using it right now, believe it or not. But sometimes when we're in our minds and we're like overthinking and just like, that's where you just need to stop and check in with yourself and find your breath. And it's really just thinking about, okay, how am I breathing right now? And sometimes it may mean putting your hand on your belly or putting your hand on your heart and just getting out of your mind, because your breath is your connection between your mind and your body, and you can use one to calm the other. So, and you can try this later on today. So let's say you're overthinking and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm overthinking. I'm gonna focus on my breath, start deep breathing, and then get more into your body. Or if you need to, just get your both feet on the ground, or even just put your hand on your belly, hand on your heart. Get it out of your head. So does anybody use that today, that technique? That's awesome. Keep doing it. Tell your friends about it. Next up, I wanted to give some tips. I love the idea of the body influencing the mind to really help yourself just be more in the moment and be present. So wanted to go over some things that you can try for self-regulation. So let's say you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Something that you can try is that deep diaphragmatic breath. And again, it could be putting your hands on your belly and feeling your belly expanding into your hands. And this just really indicates not to be in survival mode. And focusing on your exhales is a really great thing too. So if you want to do like an inhale for a count of 4 and then an exhale for a count of 8, so doubling the length of your exhale, doing that continuously, extending your exhale, will bring you into your parasympathetic system, which is your rest and digest. I've used this even going for a trail run when it's cold out, and it's helped me warm my hands because I'm getting my body feel safe and moving forward, literally. If you're feeling insecure, rejected, or unworthy, something you can try is just standing up tall or even taking up a lot of space. So standing like this with your hands on your hips, or even standing with your arms out like this. And you may feel like, okay, I feel awkward doing this. You can go to the bathroom stall and do it. I'm telling you this because before I would go in and do presentations to a room full of white men of a certain age, I would go into the bathroom and white men of a certain age, I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying, because there's some in the room. You're friendly. But just taking up that space and it just using your body to influence your mind can really help with those moments of, okay, then I have to go into the room and pitch my idea. And actually, Amy Cuddy talks about that a lot in her book, Presence, and she also has the TED Talk. But she does talk about before an interview, instead of sitting on your phone like this, taking more of that expansive motion. And they did studies between the people who did the 2 types of things, and the people who were more expansive appeared more confident in their interviews. Anxious and worried. So let's say, like in this room, if you're feeling anxious or worried, go out there in a really big open space or walk outside. So feeling more open and spacious, like you're not being captive, that can help you as well. I know it was actually a tip I was given for training my dog, is taking the dog out to more open spaces. So guess what? It works for us too. Unmotivated, bored, lethargic. Does anybody do the 3 o'clock slump? Does that happen? Well, instead of chugging some caffeine, there's something you can do instead. You can do some breath work. So fire breath or Wim Hof. So fire breath is called Kapalabhati, and you can look that up. It's more of a passive inhale, and your exhale is more forceful. So I'm holding the mic, so usually I place both hands here, but it's like, don't do it with a full belly though, because you'll throw up. Or you may not. Try it if you want. Another thing that you can try is, I don't know if you've taken yoga class and they talk about your Ujjayi breath. That is more of when you're inhaling through your nose, and then as you exhale, it's a constriction in your back of your throat, which is very similar to fogging a mirror, but with your mouth closed. And that brings a focused breath as well. And it doesn't look or sound as interesting as the Kapalabhati one. So these are some things to help you out. And the last one, let's see, vagus nerve. Does anybody have a vagus nerve? Okay, I'm just seeing who's here. Vagus nerve is awesome. And when I learned about this and how I could use my vagus nerve as my friend and help me out, I was like, it's been amazing for me. So when you feel upset, where do you tend to feel it? Do you feel it in your chest, your belly? Like that's something to think about, like when you feel upset, where does it happen? Because our friend, the wanderer, the vagus nerve, is the longest of the 12 cranial nerves, so coming down from the brain. And it's responsible for the regulation of internal organ functions. So you think of your digestion. So if you get an upset stomach when you're, stressed out or something, or let's say you feel it in your heart rate or your breath rate. Sorry, I'm like going in and out with the microphone here. It's very fascinating to learn how our vagus nerve, what it does, and how much it's just all over the place, hence the name the wanderer. So you can strengthen your vagus nerve so that you become more resilient and you're able to deal with these tough situations. And some of these things you may already do. So slow breathing, thinking of that diaphragmatic breath, singing, humming, or using your voice. So your vagus nerve runs behind your vocal cords. So you're massaging your vagus nerve just by singing in the shower or in the car. Or humming, socializing and laughing, very similar experience there. Cold exposure, you don't have to cold plunge if you don't want to, although it does help with strengthening your vagus nerve. I know for me, some of you have longer hair, so let's say it's wash hair day, which is a big event, and after you condition, you can do a cold rinse, and that also helps seal the tips of your hair. So you're helping your hair, and you're also helping your vagus nerve. Meditation. So meditation doesn't mean, it doesn't have to be just sitting there going, hum. Meditation can be having an unfocused gaze. It can be walking meditation. That's something Thich Nhat Hanh talks a lot about, or even just like on a run, running on the trails. Exercise. Speaking of running on the trails, again, you don't need to go overboard pumping weights. You can just take a 30-minute walk, or for Tree Fort, you're probably wandering around. That's exercise. That's exercise, guys. Massage. If you go and get a massage, somebody else massages you, or you can even massage yourself. So in Ayurveda, there's Abhyanga, where you can use an oil that's meant for your composition and just massage. If you need to feel more grounded, it's massaging more down. If you need to be uplifted, it's massaging up and then circles around the joints. Those are all great things that you can do for yourself and help your body. Okay. Is there anything you do today or that you maybe want to try for these? Let's just be quiet and talk about it. No.
You brought up cold exposure.
Yeah.
So my sister swears by cryotherapy.
Oh.
Is that something that you're familiar with, or
I've
is that what you would?
I've heard about it. I tend to go more natural. I don't know how natural that is, or if they use any type of chemical, or if it's more. I honestly don't know. I'd maybe go in an ice bucket. Like that's more natural. It also is shock to the system.
So how do you use cold exposure if you're not jumping into a lake?
You know, it's funny. I researched this because I got that same question, and there's a number of different things. I would say Google it, but just by the cold rinse in the shower for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, that's something. Some people do cold water on their face. That's another thing. So it doesn't have to be intense, like plunging into a bucket. Although I have tried it, and as long as you listen to a good song, it takes your mind out of what's going on. So mine was Lizzo. Okay, so now we're gonna move more from the body into the mind. And I'm trying to keep us doing well. And I think we are doing okay. All right, so I'm gonna go over 3 things a little quick. These are 3 things that we use for our innovation program, and but they're more of a mindset, higher level type thing. I'm not being very prescriptive here. So are anybody here programmers use like the Agile Manifesto? You've probably heard of? Okay, Agile Manifesto is super cool. This is a little bit higher, more of that mindset, way of doing things and thinking about things. And the print is kind of small in the brain, but really it's talking about making progress over perfection. We talked about how perfection is overrated, and sometimes it's like, whoa, we just need to move forward. Being vulnerable and speaking up, sometimes that's tough, especially if you're like not 100% sure on the answer, versus being quiet. So that requires being vulnerable. Speed. Sometimes you need to move forward without getting consensus. That may make some people uncomfortable, but again, that goes to making progress. Adapting to change over having following a plan. It doesn't mean you don't start with a plan. It just means that sometimes you may need to change your plan and be flexible. Participation over power. So this is about having a team that involves expertise versus people with the titles. You can have the people with the titles to sponsor what you're doing, but they don't need to be in the room. And taking action over analysis is another key thing. Has anybody been on a project where analysis paralysis is happening? Isn't it awesome? It's so awesome. I love it. And, it's really great for my patients. So yeah, anytime you have that, I'm kidding. I really love to take action and get results. And that's why I love this mindset. And autonomy over control, that's more about let's all play a piece instead of having control over must get done this way. And I do have a project management background, and there are some really controlling project managers out there. And I used to be one earlier in my career. And I'll tell you, projects are more successful when you allow everybody to use their strengths and play a part. So this is the Agile mindset. Here's what it looks like on our projects. So top is more waterfall, if you think of development, one thing at a time. But look how long it takes before you get something that's usable. It takes a while. Versus when we get an idea that comes in and we get it to a minimal viable solution, our goal is to focus on the skateboard And I tell that to the teams and set the expectation up front. We need to focus on the skateboard. And they even start self-policing. And we're like, dude, that's not the skateboard. You're moving to the scooter. And it's like, yeah, let's focus on the skateboard, because that's how guys talk, right? Who I work with. Just kidding. But the goal with getting to the skateboard is you have something usable that you can build upon and learn from, and you get it right away, versus the other things, it just takes a long time. So this is the agile mindset in practice. Again, it's not a prescriptive how-to, it's just moving things forward. Design thinking, there's so many different design thinking frameworks out there. This is the one that I really enjoy. It really starts with empathy of who are you solving the problem for or finding an opportunity for. So you're starting with humans. Imagine that, humans designing for humans. And then you're figuring out the problem or the opportunity. Again, what are we solving for? What are we doing this? How many of you just have been brought a solution? I need you to do this. Versus, okay, what problem are we trying to solve? And let's talk to the people who are experiencing the problem so we can learn from it. And then once you've defined what you're trying to solve, that's when you can ideate, have that divergent thinking, get as many ideas as possible before you converge on a prototype that you want to move forward and test with. And then, of course, validate with the people you're solving the problem with does it solve your problem? So it is an iterative, it's iterative. Psychological safety is the last area I wanted to touch on. Has anybody heard of psychological safety? That's awesome. It's not a one and done thing, like, hey guys, we're psychologically safe, everything's good. It's not like that. It's really the belief that you're not going to be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. And I don't know if you've heard of Amy Edmondson, but she wrote The Fearless Organization, and it has a lot of really good research behind psychological safety and companies that have it and companies that don't, and what happened as a result. And after you read this, you'll be like, that's great, but what do I do? And there's this book called The Psychological Safety Playbook. It's really more of a how-to guide. And it goes in to show it's not just at the leadership level. Well, I believe everybody's a leader. You don't need a title to be a leader. But everybody can play a part. And this is a really cool playbook. But the psychological safety comes into play as far as making sure everybody has a voice, that they feel heard and speaking up. And that's what we do on our projects. So have any of you been in an instance where you didn't feel psychologically safe? Yeah. I have a lot of stories when I didn't feel either. But we don't. That could be a whole workshop. This whole thing could be a workshop on psychological safety. Same with design thinking and the agile mindset. But I put it on here of just something to think about and where you're working or just out in society of thinking of who's speaking up and who's not speaking up. And why aren't they speaking up? Especially if they're speaking up to you in a different way, but then they're not talking openly in a group. And so it's really just interesting to look at the system that you're operating in and how can you make a change. Okay. And now we're going to sing Kumbaya. Okay. No, actually, we're going to move into an activity. So you're all kind of sitting close together. We will need to get maybe a little bit closer. So if you guys feel like could move around, you guys are doing okay. But yeah, if you want to, it'll just make it a little bit easier, and you'll see what I mean. Anybody watch Trailer Park Boys? Okay, cool. One person. So I like to talk about rules of the road, but I won't go into how they use it in the show. So for this activity, for our rules of the road, we're going to be flexible. So your ideas are going to build on other people's ideas, and their ideas are going to build on yours. So the whole point of being flexible is don't get attached to your idea. And this happens in the real world. Don't marry your idea, okay? The next one is speak up. And there's no such thing as a dumb idea. In this case, we're going to be writing. So hopefully you have a pen, if not, or pencil. I do have some writing things. And there will be time boxes. And this is for the perfectionists in the room. Time boxes are wonderful to not be perfect, because perfection is overrated and we're experimenting. So this is a safe room. And we're going to do the round robin activity. Has anybody ever done a round robin before? The one person who's worked with me. I lied, there's 3 people I know in this room. So this is an activity where ideas evolve as they're passed from person to person. So we are going to be passing around ideas. And we are going to be using design thinking very, very briefly, because if we were to do this, it would take much longer. So this is going to be, we're going to call this super fast design thinking of empathy, define, and ideate. So by ideating together, and don't worry, there's some problem and some empathy in here. I want you to think about something that is a challenge to you at this point in your life. And I'm going to have you, or if you're comfortable, call out your challenges or raise your hand, and it doesn't have to be related to technology or whatever. I've done this activity with high school young women, and what they've said for their challenges has been, for me, a very interesting way to learn about them. So does anybody feel, your voice matters. Does anybody feel comfortable speaking up of, what is a challenge that's facing you today? I'm just going to type down we'll see if we can come up with 5. Okay.
Cooking more and eating out less.
All right.
Launching a new business?
And what's a challenge related to that?
Well, just marketing and,
Where do you start?
yeah, well,
Or-
I've got a team trying to, a group of international women were helping me. do
Okay.
that, But, yeah, just getting over the analysis paralysis of having everything perfect before I do it.
All right.
Managing conflict.
Oh. Like at work or at home? Okay, at work.
Daily movement, just like getting exercise daily, or just consistent exercise. Going back to school after a long time.
Okay. Of not going. Okay, and for each of these challenges, I'll do HMW, which is how might we? And that's a way that you can start for any type of ideation. Using that how might we starter sentence is more of a way to get feedback, inclusion, and all of that. So I'm going to give you 2 votes, and we're going to go through these and vote. You can use your votes however you'd like. on which challenge you would like to solve. And do we want to do one challenge or two? You're going to end up working on one. Okay, we will make life easy and see what gets the highest of the votes, the 2 votes. Okay, so for the first challenge, number 1, how might we cook more and eat out less? Who would like to vote on this? Okay, and the next one, how might we launch a new business, get over analysis paralysis? You do have 2 votes, just letting you know. How might we?
There was a second.
There was? Okay, good, thank you. How might we manage conflict at work? Okay. I think I got it. How might we have consistent daily exercise? Okay. How might we go back to school after a long time of not going? Oh, okay. Well, we actually had a tie, but we did have one that won out, the consistent daily exercise. So I'm going to pass out these papers. Yes, paper at a technology. Because paper is still here, you know? And you're going to keep your paper folded. And we'll need a pen or pencil. Let me know if you don't have one. Actually, get to do this exercise. Right. Okay, you need,
I guess we could share. We could share one.
okay.
Nobody knew there were going to be a test.
I think that works.
Perfectionist brother number 2, pencil.
Always prefer.
Part, part.
My favorite thing is prefer to do,
If it doesn't work, let me
Being
know.
prepared, I can be.
spontaneous, I know. Makes sense, right? Makes sense to me.
Everybody good? Okay. Doesn't work, let me know. So we're gonna start out with how might, in this top box, write out, and you can write it however short you like, how might we have consistent daily exercise? So you're gonna write it in this top box here. And then when you're done, you can unfold it just once. And you're gonna write a proposed solution. And you can come up with an unconventional way to address the challenge, something outside the box, you can draw pictures. What's your proposed solution to address the challenge? keeping the paper folded. Like you get a gift at each step. I'll give you a couple minutes to come up with a solution. Again, it's more about just practicing this type of thinking. So again, don't worry about perfection. Is everybody good on a proposed solution? Okay, this is where it gets interesting. You need to keep your folded sheet and pass it to the person on your right. And because it's the same challenge, yeah, and then one of them will pass over here. This is why it's nice to sit together.
So it's easier to share.
Yeah. And then, yeah, as long as it's not yours, we'll pass it around here. Maybe that goes. No, don't put your name on it. So we're gonna pass it. Oh.
It's a hard practice.
I know, that's why it's easier to sit close together. All right, does everybody have something that's not yours? Does anybody need one? Okay. All right, so this is the fun step. You're gonna unfold your sheet once. You're gonna read the solution and you're gonna write why it's gonna fail. I know, right? Everybody groans at this step. I will tell you, this is great practice though, for when you're in the real world and you're all excited about your idea and then it gets crapped on by people. This is the pre-crapping. So you need to think about why it will fail, and that will really help solidify your solution. So yeah, think of all the ways, or maybe it's just one way, that this solution is going to fail. I'll give you a couple minutes to. Right. So hopefully you've come up with your reason why the solution will fail. And we're going to do the fun activity again of passing your sheet to the right or to somebody who's not you.
Like a third person? Or back to the original?
Nope, just to, yeah, third person. Just because this is the building on each other's ideas.
Oh, is this the same person? Oh, here.
Okay, we can stay back here.
Okay.
All right. generate an idea that resolves the issues raised. So you're good? All right. So we've gotten down to our last box. And let's practice sharing our voices. Does anybody want to share some of the ideas? You don't have to go through all of the boxes. If anything, you could share, what was the reason why they wouldn't do it, and then what's the idea of this challenge of exercising more consistently.
Not used to this. We go low tech. Anyway, get a dog. It was the proposed solution. Worked for me, LOL. She doesn't let me skip our walks. Reward yourself with new shoes if you go every day, and try a fun gym class. And why the solution would fail, the dog might not want to go sometimes, which is what's keeping you accountable. The final concept, I put get 2 dogs. But I did put, however, I do think this is a good solution, and having a single day of indoor exercise may not be that difficult.
All right. So for the woman who said want to exercise, do you have a dog? I know you're writing right now. Oh, it wasn't yours? For the getting out and exercising more? Yeah, it was your challenge.
Oh, it was my challenge.
Yeah.
That wasn't my paper, sorry.
Oh, I know, but do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog.
Okay.
And I don't want to get a dog.
Okay.
But I would, when I can get a dog, I will.
Okay. So something to put on your
You know
list.
what I always do, actually? Every time I go for a walk, I always say I'm taking my dogs for a walk. Like, as in my toes.
Nice. See?
So I got my dogs. Yeah.
All right. It's one more. One or two more. Oh, okay. Got one back here.
The dog one was mine, by the way. But this person put have indoor and outdoor options for weather. I think that's very, very smart, because that's the thing. I'll see it's raining outside and I'll be like, So having options is good. I like that.
All right. Anybody else want to use microphone? Practice? All right.
Yeah, well, because we're tech, and we were saying that there was no accountability. That's why we would fail. So I'm just thinking about some kind of tech tool that unlocks once you've achieved your activity goal, that allows you access to some kind of reward, so that you can try to earn that to get something you want, whatever that is.
Yeah. Gamification. That always comes up.
For anybody that likes cycling, there's a platform called Zwift, Z-W-I-F-T. Does exactly what you just said. So it gamifies cycling. You can race, you can ride with friends socially. But as you do better and better in the game, You get prizes and you get different jerseys and shoes and helmets and biking parts and different bikes. So they totally gamify cycling, and you can do it all indoors. So it's really cool. Zwift.
All right, and one last one.
The first proposed solution for exercising first thing in the morning was waking up an hour earlier each day and make it an enjoyable, easy activity. The solution would fail because waking up earlier is hard and bound to fail one day and hard to start again after failing. The final concept I came up with was start just a few minutes early first in a very small workout, and then slowly build up. And then that way, if you fail, you just take it back a few minutes and you can slowly build up. And also having one of those early quick workouts you have, use to, if you do wake up late, do throughout the day, just so you keep the streak alive in a sense of doing exercise every day. But have like a very small back pocket, just basic movement to keep it going as you're building.
Yeah, I would throw out Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube. It's a really good one. And she's really quirky and funny. So, all right. Well, I thought this was fun. We got to hear your ideas. We got to do some things and share some benefits for the round robin. You get input from everybody. Like, all of you gave your input on solving this one challenge. You diminished those overbearing opinions. I'm sure you've been in meetings with those people who just love to talk. And it facilitates that group authorship. You all played a part in coming up with solutions. And then you think of new and unusual ideas. So it was really kind of fun to hear each of your different ideas. And so we're at the end. So I want to celebrate all that you've accomplished. So you did some design thinking. It was super quick, but we had some empathy, design, and ideation. If you'd like to connect, all sorts of information out there. I do have a monthly newsletter where I call bites of information in terms of things for your health or your mind, so strategy or breath work, because I love breath work and it can really have a positive change in your life. And thank you. 1 minute over. Okay. Have a great day.